Hello there. Welcome to the City of McAllen Employee Wellness Program Live at Lunch series. We're doing them every Friday from 12:20 to 12:40. I'm Rafael Curiel, the City of McAllen Employee Wellness Coach, and today we're going to be talking about nutrition, specifically macromolecules. Macromolecules are the biggest molecules that make up our diets. We got proteins, carbs, and fats, and we'll be talking about the numbers that you see in the back in just a minute. Now, I wanted to start off by saying that this is actually in large part connected to a live class that we can do at the different departments. So if you feel that this would be better as a live class, you contact our department here at Benefits and you request a date or time for me to go out to your department, and we will do this as a live class. We can do a 10-minute class, 30 or an hour. One time we even did it for the fire cadets. High out there, if you get to see this one, we did this one for 4 hours. It was a 4-hour nutrition class, and really nutrition is something that could take several days, if not months, to learn all the amazing things that we get out of nutrients. And so, even though today we're gonna break it down into the 3 components that make up the meal plans that we create for the employees here at the city, we do want to emphasize and make sure that everybody understands the map is not the terrain, which means there are so many things inside of food that is or that are amazing molecules, and we don't necessarily know all the different things that they can do for us as far as rebuilding tissue, generating new cells, and all the different components that go into our metabolism and homeostasis. So then you say, well, if we don't know all those things, why then do we try or attempt to make meal plans for people? That's because based on what we have seen in the general population, we know that if you follow certain key principles and I have identified certain macromolecules, you will be able to avoid certain diseases, increase your longevity, increase your vitality, and also improve your cognition, your mental functions and capacities. And my favorite, or the most favorite attribute of a good diet of all, is you actually increase your empathy, which is your ability to understand how people work and how people feel. So if you could stick with us for these next few minutes, I'd like to talk to you about nutrition, because nutrition is not just about what you're eating, it's also about what's eating you. So if you like that one, I got that one from Levy Salinas, the Fujicator. So if you get to watch this, Levy, thank you very much for all your guidance over the years. And a big part of what we talk about today is due to the work that you've let me get involved in with Fujication as being a volunteer over the years. So thank you very much for that. So let's go ahead and talk about why we focus on nutrition. Why is it that we want to talk or spend so much time about nutrition? It's pretty much an 80-20 principle. 80-20 means that if you're going to work out, how much mental energy, how much time you spend on your workouts, planning them out and doing them, should take up about 20% of the total amount of time in the week that you have for wellness. The other 80% are the conscious, deliberate decisions that you make about the food that you are going to eat or that you are attempting to get together for your meals later on in the week. So 80-20 is the principle. You can't work out and then just eat whatever. It has to be that 80-20 ratio, so that you make sure that the calories you're putting in are quality and that they're going to produce all those benefits that I just listed for you. So we focus on nutrition in the present time and in the right now time, so that we can get all of those benefits. And then I'd like to give you one more, maybe something brand new, maybe something you haven't heard of before. Epigenetics. Epigenetics talks about how our cells reproduce, and whether or not the message that the cells, the DNA, are reproducing is going to get mixed up, or is it going to be copied and recreated perfectly over and over again. You see, every strain of DNA or every gene that gets tweaked, messed up, or mutated stays that way. So what we know about nutrition is that the better our nutrition is, the less mutations we're going to get, the less likely cells will go rogue or go off on them and start doing things that we don't want them to do. So just keep in mind that every 6 years you get from head to toe a brand new set of cells. We're talking muscle cells, bones, teeth, hair, nails. Everything about you is brand new every 6 years on average. So different cells take time to replicate, reproduce themselves. It takes a while. So not all the cells reproduce all at the same time or at the same rates. So when you think about that, you think the fact that every meal that you eat will reproduce new cells, and so then you owe it to yourself to put in good quality nutrition to make sure that those cells are replicating themselves properly. So that's really the goal of what we're trying to do, is to make sure that you have that longevity, you have that vitality, increase mental cognition. And for a select group of people, they are also concerned about losing weight. And I use that phrase as a popular phrase. You know, we hear it a lot about losing weight. And I'd like to maybe make another class about why the phrase itself, losing weight, is not necessarily a good phrase to use when trying to describe an improvement to your health. But as for today, we'll stick with that phrase because it's very familiar for people. We do want to say that there is one controllable factor in a person either gaining or losing weight, and that is how you use your calories. So I'll bring it up for you so you can see it. It's how are you going to use your calories? That is the number one factor in determining whether or not a person can gain or lose weight. That's because every calorie that you consume is a packet of energy. It is potential energy, or it's going to be turned into stored energy, or it's going to be wasted energy. And every time that you have a meal and your calories are unaccounted for, you have no idea the amount or proportions that you're eating, if they're the correct proportions for the goals that you're trying to attain. So what we do here at the city is we create meal plans for people who are working with us on the wellness program. So we have meal plans that we can make for you, and they have the proteins, carbs, and fats, the numbers in grams, so that you can know how much each one of those food values, where they stand, so that you can determine how many calories you need in a day. We have a machine here. I'm going to grab it real quick. We have a machine here, a weight scale, right, called the Omron. When you get on this scale, it's going to measure weight, body fat, muscle percentage, visceral fat, and then right here, RM. That stands for resting metabolic rate. Your resting metabolic rate is the total number of calories that you use in a day. If you can imagine a day where you are just laying down on the couch, focusing on your breath, not really doing too much, heart's beating, lungs are moving, little bit of brain function, that's called your resting metabolic rate. So with doing no work, or without having to strain yourself in any way, your resting metabolic rate is a total number of calories that you use. So once we get that number, the next question I can ask you is, how much activity do you get in a day? And the thing about that question is, no matter how much you think you work, this is a very, very specific percentage here, no matter how much you think you work, you can only produce 20% above your resting metabolic rate. I'm going to let you think about that for a second. Resting metabolic rate plus 20% for everybody on the planet. Yes, that includes our athletes. Yes, that includes anybody who, from the time they wake up to the time they go to sleep, consider themselves to be working out. You only have 20%. And you say, wait a minute, if I only have 20% extra that I can give compared to a person who stayed on the couch all day, man, I really better start focusing in on how I use that 20%, because it's that 20% in different levels that determines how much physical activity you can produce. All right, so if you were to tell me that you spend most of your day sitting at a desk, doing some typing, you do a lot of thinking, working on the computer, talking with people, mostly a sedentary job, we'll multiply your resting metabolic rate times with 1.1. If you are a professional athlete, then we'll multiply that number by a 1.4. So that's just a guesstimation. We're going to have to ask you some questions about your physical activity, about what you do in the day, and then we'll figure out your resting metabolic times either 1.1 or 1.4, 1.2 and 1.3 obviously in the middle, to figure out how many calories we're going to be giving you in the day. So that's to maintain homeostasis. That's just to stay where you are. Now, if you decide that you're going to have some goals of changing your body composition, that's where we start messing with proteins, carbs, and fats, the ratios that are given in the meal plan in order to achieve your goals. Now, notice on here, we're not talking about any type of processed foods, any type of additives, any types of chemicals that would be added to this very simplified macromolecule set. So once you get used to eating on the meal plan, you're going to realize there's some very clean foods on there and very clean burning foods. So you might actually get a large amount of food on your meal plan and say, I don't think I could eat all this. But with time, after pulling out some of the things that are not food in your diet, and everybody's on a diet, it's just some people know what they're eating and they consider that their diet, and some people don't know. So no matter what you eat, I can guarantee you that you're probably eating the same 50 to 60 foods and beverages throughout the week consistently. That's the thing about being an adult. You kind of settle into your patterns and you settle into your habits. So as we make changes to the meal plan, there might be some awkwardness, there might be some weirdness or some strange feelings that you're going to get as you change from one way of eating to another. And that's okay. So don't worry about it. Making small changes over a long period of time will do better for you than taking a very drastic measure and trying to switch up your diet and saying, okay, I've got 2,800 calories that I need to eat in a day because I'm a certain size, weight, my resting metabolic, and my poundage is this, but I want to become this. I want to become a smaller person, so I need to eat the way this smaller person that I envision myself to be. I need to just hurry up and just start eating like that so my body can switch. It doesn't work that way. We're going to have to take several months, if not years, of slow changes. That way the body reacts in the way that we want it to. You see, we're also going to be adding in a lot of exercise, and when you add in exercise, you have to make sure that you're feeling good as you go into your workouts so that you can produce your best results. So now that we've talked about the resting metabolic rate and talking about how much energy people can put out in a day, that's one reason why exercise works, because when you increase the amount of work that you do in a day, you're going to increase the total number of calories burned. But there is a topic that I did want to make sure to come across before our time is up here. And the one thing that I might end up saying several times throughout the series on nutrition is that we want to stay away from starvation diets. Starvation diets, so that you can see them and so you can think about what is a starvation diet. A starvation diet is where you cut back on everything. You cut back on proteins, carbs, and fats, maybe without even a real plan on how to do it. Excuse me. So you can cut out all types of food and just lower your total intake of food, but there's a problem with that. Your muscles need nutrition all the time. Your internal organs need food all the time. So if you cut back and you put yourself on a starvation diet, all of these processes, remember I said the cells are constantly replicating? All these processes don't have the proper nutrition in order to do their job properly. So therefore, they start to cut away at the muscle, and you end up with less muscle at the end of a starvation diet. Now, that's why I showed you the scale, because the scale traditionally is something people use when they're looking at, is their health improving? Okay, I went from weighing 145 pounds to now weighing 135 pounds, so I must have done something positive, and that's not always the case. So if anything, on this one lecture here, or this one presentation here, I would really like people to start thinking, okay, I need to get down to find a scale that shows me my body fat percentage, my muscle percentage, and also visceral fat and resting metabolic rate, so that we know that when we make a change, that the things we're trying to keep, in this case skeletal muscle, stay with us. Because skeletal muscle is very hard to maintain. That's why the older people get, like when they're in their 70s and 80s, they have a lot of muscle wasting. And we have that on one of the charts that's called our body composition sheet. When you come in and you get measured, we can see on the chart that as people get older, their muscle percentage drops. Now, will it drop quickly or will it go down slowly over time? That depends on how you take care of yourself. On are you exercising, and then are you putting in the proper amount of nutrition? So every time a person goes on a starvation diet, that's a diet where they're not getting enough proteins, carbs, and fats in the macromolecule sense, there's a good chance that they're wasting away their muscle fibers. And remember, once you waste them away, it's very difficult to get them back. And so if you're going to go on some kind of fast, some type of cleanse, or some type of detox, so I'm not mentioning any specific ones out there, but whoever it is that's putting you on that, you need to ask them, do you have a scale that I can check my body fat percentage, my skeletal muscle percentage, and also my resting metabolic rate, both before and after this program that you're going to put me on? Because if you do that cleanse, or you do that detox, or you do that fast one time, and at the end you found out that you were, let's say 2 or 3 weeks later after finishing with that program, you get on the scale and you realize that you lost a couple of pounds of muscle, well then, was that a good program? My argument is that it wasn't. We're probably going to have to continue this. I had no idea how much I'd be able to cover in one set, or one 20-minute session here. And I do want to make a couple of announcements before we go off Facebook right now. Just wanted to say that, and I'm going to use my cell phone for this, that if you haven't liked or logged on to the City of McAllen Nature Center page on Facebook, please do that. And they're going to have their first year anniversary coming up, and there will be a celebration on Saturday, October 29th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And the reason I would like people to go to that is because, for me, there were things that I hadn't tried out in a long time, like yoga and Tai Chi, and they have free classes there at the Nature Center. So it's just like a standard park, except you won't find a lot of playground equipment, because this is more for going to go for a walk. This is more things like going for a walk, looking at birds and animals and insects, and but there is a place to do yoga, Tai Chi, and they have several other very innovative programs, and they're actually, it's called the Family, Nature, and Wellness Festival. So by participating in some of these things or finding out about these programs firsthand, you can start making plans to go and see them. So if you got time right now, go ahead and pull out your calendar, mark it down for October 29th, the McAllen Nature Center. That's close to, or it's on Business 83, closer to Ware Road. So you'll find your way out there. Also, if you know where Westside Park is, Westside Park goes right into the Nature Center. You just can't get there from there. You got to go up the street. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was that if you can't be on the air with us at from 12:20 to 12:40, you can always watch this program later on the wellness page. And if you decide you want to take this for credit, you send me an email, and I will send you a quiz, 3 to 4 questions long. You reply to that quiz, and we can get you credit to your employee wellness your employee wellness account, which is an accumulation, place to accumulate points, which we will then later on spend in the employee wellness store. And as of today, we have a new partner. Well, they're not really a partner because they don't know yet that they're helping us out. But because of the way Khan Academy has their licensing and copyright structured, it's free for organizations to use. I'm signed on Khan Academy. That's KAHN. Let me go ahead and spell it out for you. KhanAcademy.org. So if you log on to KhanAcademy.org and you create a profile for yourself or not, you can get on there and watch the online classes there for free with no account. And even if you do sign up with or create an account for them or with them, those classes are still also free. The only difference is when you're logged in, you actually also accumulate what they call energy points on their site. If you set me up, Rafael Curiel, as the trainer, or as your trainer on Khan Academy, then I'll be able to access how many points you've accumulated and on what subjects. So if you'd like to watch a 5 to 10 minute class on Khan Academy on topics like the respiratory system, gastrointestinal system, learning about different diseases like the Parkinson's, multiple sclerosis, celiac, pneumonia, finding out what is lung cancer, even mental health issues like depression, anxiety, psychotic disorders, and infectious diseases, you can log on to Khan Academy. And what we've done is we've turned those Khan Academy classes into classes on our system. So if you watch the Khan Academy class and then send me an email saying that you've watched one of those classes, I'll be able to give you credit to your employee wellness account. And anybody that is interested in getting started with Khan Academy, send me an email and I will send you the spreadsheet with all the classes listed and the codes that follow, so that you know you're going to get credit for watching and taking quizzes on those classes. All right, well, that's going to be all of our time for right now. Thank you so much for tuning in or watching this. If you know somebody who hasn't given us a like on the City of McAllen Employee Wellness Program page, please have them do that. And any City of McAllen employees that aren't part of the wellness program yet, encourage them to come along with us, because the only way we're going to do this is if we all are in it together. So with that, I'd like to give a big thank you to all the participants for all their hard work so far, and I'll be seeing you next Friday. Thank you.